Welcome to another episode of Electric City Television's Roundtable Discussions. I'm your host, Travis Prince, and today our guest is Matt Catanzaro. Matt Catanzaro is a 2020 grad from Marywood University. He's a painter, designer, entrepreneur, writer, and musician. He is also known as Cat Matthews in the music industry. Here's Matt Cat. Matt, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good, man. I'm really happy to have you here and do a more of a official interview with you. Last December, we were at the AFA Gallery for the member show, and we did a small interview then. So I definitely wanted to bring you back and have a more in-depth conversation about you and your art.
Honored to be here.
Thank you. The first thing that I want our viewers to know is a little bit about your background.
Okay. Sounds good to me. So, I went to high school, of course, and I never took an art class, ever.
Throughout high school?
Never. I loved art, though, and I got in trouble a lot for drawing on tests and things, but I never took an art class. I took like wood shop and things like that, where the bad kids went.
Yeah.
And I hung out down in wood shop.
Still creative, though.
Very creative, but it like escaped. The art came out through wood shop and drafting. So then college came around, the idea of college, which I had no idea what that was. I still really don't. But I filled out some applications and they suggested I show some art, and I got a scholarship to Marywood University, and I've been there ever since, and I just graduated this year in 2020.
That's awesome. Congratulations on graduating too.
Thank you.
And so your time at Marywood, how was that?
It was enjoyable. I think you have to make your own journey, the way you can get as much or as little out of it as you want. So I tried to get a lot out of it. Took 3 minors in art history, philosophy, and illustration with a graphic design focus, because that's a practical major,
yeah.
I suppose. But the whole time I was more interested in painting and drawing and illustrating, so talked to a lot of professors that helped me. I stayed after class. I went to their homes. They taught me what they knew. They tried to get as much as I could, and then I just pretty much focused on painting for the last 2 years of my journey there.
A philosophy course, does that play into your art in any type of way?
I think 100%. I think art reflects society, and I think philosophy is an examination of life and especially society. So a lot of my work is me trying to put a subjective perception that I saw down so that it could be viewed objectively. I think in words that's hard to do. I think it's very different depending on who you're talking to, but I think art allows you to be a philosopher and put it down in a way where people can see it and more like feel it rather than read it in a way.
That was actually a question that I wanted to ask you, is what role does art play in society? And you basically explained that one good quote I heard was, a historian tells us what happened, and the artist tells us how it felt.
That's so good. That's
and
exactly
I really
how
like
I feel.
that. And but like you say, to have an understanding of philosophy and being able to transfer that visually into your art so that the viewers can understand these same concepts, metaphors, ideas, I find it important. It's an important part of the job of being an artist.
So true. It's one of the most important jobs out there.
What type of art do you identify with the most?
So that's always been rough for me because, I mean, of course, I was heavily influenced by Picasso. I always loved his stuff. I liked what he did. I liked how he transcended eras and styles. I guess you could say mine's like expressionistic in a way, but it's definitely postmodern because I combine styles and techniques and feelings and things that were going on at the time. So looking at society, making commentary on it, has been done before. I try to do it in a way that the style is recognizable and the message is recognizable, which is postmodern in a way, but definitely the expressionistic nature. I like impressionism, of course abstract. I like portraiture. So combining all that together, whatever you wish to call it, I have no idea what to call it ever.
I can really see the different eclectic styles in your work too, and that's what really draws me to your work. Is it is Picasso-esque in a way, but it's so unique. And
thank you.
is just bold and striking, and I really do enjoy your stuff. Let's see. Is the artistic life lonely? And if you think it is, what do you do to counteract this?
It's a damn good question. I definitely think it's lonely, 100%. But I take that as motivation and inspiration for sure. Plenty of artists hung out, let's say, in lower tier lifestyles, so like brothels or bars, and they got inspiration from that. And I think that's some of the best work. People that were in trenches of war and painted that. I think despair, sadness, the whole idea of overcoming it with a painting is like so empowering to me. And the way I put it for a lot of people is it's like a hole in the ground. And the deeper you go, the better inspiration you get, but it's harder to get out.
To pull it back.
It's hard to get out, but everyone wants to go a little deeper every time because that's where the good stuff is. So balancing that is a way that everyone has to do. You know, even if you're not an artist, you have to make sure you don't go too deep into the hole. But as an artist, I feel like you don't mind it as much because you're getting something out of it.
That's
at
true.
the end of the day. That painting's still there, the idea is there, the memory is there. So.
That's another thing that I've been trying to evaluate throughout this pandemic crisis that we're in right now, with being quarantined and isolated from, you know, what we consider the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I think that artists have dealt with this better, just
100%.
because art is kind of a solitary thing for the most part. And
so true.
A true artist with a true passion confines himself, you know,
Always.
for days on end to go through this creative process. So I think it's been a little bit easier for people like us to handle this quarantine isolation type situation. And like you say, with the things that are going on now, you have to dig a little bit deeper and get to those dark places to try to express what is going on in our society today. What is your dream project?
That is a tough one. So I like that concept of a Renaissance man. I really do. I don't believe that we're meant to do one thing or even 10 things. I think it's innumerable. So right now, I don't really know. I like sub goals. I don't like big goals. So like a sub goal now would be to have another show for art per se. I'm also a musician, so I'd like to have an album done. I have 2 songs done now. So there's all these little sub goals, but the whole like dream, I don't think is there yet. And I'm not upset about it, because that's half the fun, figuring out what it is. But smaller dreams, I don't want it to be the pinnacle of my existence, but I would like to have another show in the near future and hopefully get an album done. Those are 2 things I focus on a lot now.
You know, that's pretty good, because like you say, it's baby steps.
Baby steps.
And life is a creative process, and like you say, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you may learn. You don't know what your new interests may be.
100%.
So yeah,
day by day.
For me, one of my major goals is to have art on display in a prominent museum.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I've done tons of shows and galleries and stuff, but there, in my mind at least, there's a slight separation between being in an art gallery and being in an art museum.
Yeah.
And like that's one of my biggest goals, is to actually have some work in a museum.
Yeah, well, that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
What's your favorite artwork? It doesn't necessarily have to be one of your pieces. It doesn't necessarily have to be from one of your favorite artists of all time, but a piece of art that you are very fond of, a piece of art that you like.
It's interesting. So, because I did minor in art history, because I loved seeing all the art. Like, I just liked seeing it. I liked seeing what I could be inspired by, whether it be from 5,000 years ago, 500 years ago, or 5 years ago. I think there's always something you could take. If we go back a long time ago, Of course, the classical, say, Greek and Roman sculptures I always loved because I feel they captured an emotion in a moment, like almost like Medusa in a way, like turned someone to stone.
Exactly.
I appreciate that. But then I grow to enjoy someone's interpretation of a moment more. So that might have been what it literally looked like, but then someone that paints it completely different, maybe abstracts a little, started enjoying that a little bit more. So like Picasso and Braque, like when they started watching films, when films came out, like their perception of a film, like I thought that was awesome because I could go through life and do that better than anyone else because no one else will know my perception. I could always try to capture an objective thing, but I might not be as good as the next guy, you know? But no one will ever be able to copy what I thought in my mind from it. So I find a lot of value in that, where I could put down what I'm feeling and seeing. So I would definitely say the modernists were a big inspiration to me in how they valued that rather than just documenting per se.
Exactly.
So I do like that.
So there, we have denoted several periods in history that we classify as Renaissance. The Italian Renaissance, the French Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance. Do you think we are on the verge, or in the near future there could be another Renaissance in the art world? Before you ask the question, in my opinion, I think this information technology, digital age, kind of takes away from traditional art
100%.
a little bit.
I agree with
that. And back to the question, do you think that there will be a renaissance or a rebirth of more traditional artists, visual artists and painters?
So that would depend on society, definitely. So like the whole rebirth thing, it's never really art, it's never really society, it all reflects each other. So if I recall correctly, I believe there was a lot of money going into Italy at the time. There's spare money per se. Whether it's from Venice with their giant ships, they were producing anything like that, but they had a lot of money. That's why like society was doing well, not too much conflict. So they had time to value things that you wouldn't have time to value if there was conflict. Like same with like farming. All these inventions came up because people didn't have to hunt all day. There was time to like draw and do that. So we have way too many issues today, way too many, that shouldn't be here. And go on for hours why that's the case. But if they go away, there will be more time to focus on things that bring people together, like art. So if that happens, I can see appreciation of art more. Now, we're worried about things that we shouldn't be worried about. We shouldn't have to worry about, but we do. So until we catch up morally, then we're not going to see it. But we will one day soon, I think.
Let's see. In your artwork, what themes do you try to pursue?
So some of the portraits are just like I said, a perception I capture, whether it's someone I saw or the shapes I like. So the portraits don't have too much of, say, symbolic meaning, but a lot of the other ones I do. I did a show called Face Reality, where there's a pun because it's a face, but then it's also calling out people to examine their daily life. So I do a lot of, say, bar scenes, modern bar scenes. I do a lot of like Instagram type images that we're all so used to, we're accustomed to, but I don't think anyone ever really sat back and looked at what they were.
Yeah.
So like the posing, the instant gratification, I touch on those themes a lot with the style, and I think the same as documenting a painting from the Renaissance of, say, people in a park or a war. I'm just documenting what I see every day. So I was happy. I feel like not the first one, of course, but I felt pretty good that I painted a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because I never really thought about that. Like, that's such a big part of our lives, you know, but you don't see it too often sometimes. But if you were looking back in history, you'd be like, oh yeah, all these people have these squares in their hands, you know? It's a big part of it. It's a huge part of our lives. We can't even leave our house without it. So I try to document that, just what I'm seeing and like how I feel, and if people find it odd when you look at it in that way. So the whole face reality theme is still pretty prevalent with me.
I like that. Once again, throughout the periods of the Renaissance, art and the reflection of life were somewhat romanticized. And then you had the realist movement come in, where you see the Germans painting street sweepers and people cleaning and hanging out clothes, or in our modern time sitting at bars on their cell phones. It's the realities of life, the realities of our society, and the way that we go about our everyday existence, and documenting that is a tremendous effort for the artists at hand. I've also had a similar concept where, like you say, if you're artists, we're people watchers, and we try to deconstruct what we're seeing. And this has been years in the making now, where you go into a restaurant for dinner and you see a family of three, a mother, a father, and a daughter or a son, and everyone's on their cell phone.
Exactly.
And it's the weirdest thing. And I've thought too, to like, we need to capture these moments in our society, and how society is shifting to this medium where we're together, but we're not really together.
Exactly.
You know, and so I like the fact that you hit on these themes. Those are extremely important. What I want to do now is, can we talk about some of your art and break down some of your processes?
Absolutely.
So this piece that we've had here this time, do you have a title for it?
I really don't. I don't name the portraits too often. I just 1 to 6. I do a series of 6. But
I'm gonna tell you, for me, once again, like I said that to you the first time, your thick, bold, black outlines, it is so striking. To me, it shows strength and resilience in a way. And then to have the colors inside of those dark lines. Once again, dude, your work really just draws me in. I really feel what you're trying to say.
Thank you.
And then, like you say, just the Picasso-esque type feel to it. I really enjoy looking at your stuff. For a piece like this, from the idea and the conception to the process of actually painting on canvas and to a complete painting, round about how long does that take you?
So this is actually the fun part. It takes me longer to come up with the sketch than anything. So I'll try out so many different shapes for a nose or an eye or a stripe pattern until I get it kind of right. And the sketch could be, I just started using the iPad pretty recent, but usually just a notebook or something. And then once you get that, I'll use a pastel and I'll draw it quick. The same exact sketch on a canvas. And then the painting part is actually really quick because I paint really fast. I don't even wait for it to dry half the time because I'm using acrylic. So it's really fast and sporadic. But then the line work, once it's dried, will take a little longer. But I could usually get these done in maybe 2-3 hours.
Wow.
Which is I have to kind of work fast with them because it's not like I'm precisely. It's like whatever the line looks like it is, and that's how it works. You know, you make it work.
It gives it an organic quality to it, and now that you say like how fast you go with the insertion of the colors, I can see the movement and the pace in your brush strokes that looks not rushed, but more of a organized chaos to a certain extent.
Oh, for sure.
And like I can see how you build it now, the colors, and then come back with the lines and settle it all in. Your work is phenomenal, dude.
Oh, thank you, man. Too kind.
Let's put another piece up here and let's look at something else.
For sure. We could do we'll do one of these bad boys. So this is like one of those societal comment ones I was talking about, where this is definitely something we've all seen before, similar. We've seen a selfie. But the whole idea of, let's say, just covering the face with the phone, per se, it's like, why would we do that? Why? And then the whole idea of maybe like posing in a way. Are we living an alter ego? Is that how we normally look? Why do we do it? What's the motive behind it? So just me finding that interesting. You know, I think you should look at the sky and find that interesting. if you truly understand life. So me seeing that, people would say it's just a selfie. You know, there's millions of them. I have thousands on my phone of myself, but like people might say I don't usually take them. But I thought it was worth capturing in a way. I thought it was worth documenting as an artist, and using the color palette that I use and the style, which is like one of my 3 styles. So this doesn't have the precise black outline. It's more of like a looser black outline, but similar themes. I usually paint people very odd colors, like a yellow or an orange. Use very bright colors, drastic exaggeration of features, things like that. But I think the style and the message is what brings people into it, in a way.
And I really enjoyed this piece as well too. And then, like you said, this age that we're in, this digital age where people survive on likes from their Twitter account or their Instagram account or their Facebook account, and at the same time, like you say, you're taking a picture of yourself, but you're not showing yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you're not showing your true self. We almost live in this world where everyone has a facade.
Yeah.
Everyone wears a mask, and it's hard to see through these things sometimes, to see the reality of the person, who the person truly is, because I don't know, society seems like it won't allow you to be yourself, so you have to pretend to be something a little bit better than you are, just to keep up with everyone else. And this is a sign of our times right here.
Exactly, man.
It's and also, like you said, the contrast in your styles. I always admire that from artists. I've been producing art for a long time, and in the recent years, I feel my art is a little stale, for the simple fact that I'm a little bit fearful of changing my style up, and I wish I had, you know, more courage to switch it up a little bit, make it a little bit looser or a little bit tighter, or alter the colors that I normally use on my palette, and you have no problem at all just doing what you feel on the canvas. And this is a great example of being able to switch styles and switch techniques and still be able to produce a valuable image.
Thank you. You are too kind.
Yeah, I really appreciate your stuff, dude. Let's show some more.
Absolutely. So we got another large portrait here. Same style, just to show you how the series is coming. This is a new series I did. I had an original series of 6 that was relatively large. This is like a medium size. I have smaller ones, but these are definitely different from my original ones. I feel like they evolved a little, where I use a lot more buildup of shape, usually square, rectangle, like in here and here, and then a lot bolder black lines, a little thicker on the black lines, and more or less, like if you look at it a little too much, it almost doesn't look like a person anymore. The parts are just, it's made up of shape per se, like this and this, where it's not so much, it's losing its human likeness a little. So I definitely like these. I like the color palette as well. I'm trying to go, like I said, very quick, very fast, and then the fine line work later.
Now you said that your conception and your sketches take a lot longer to contrive than the actual piece itself. What motivates you to use certain shapes on a certain piece?
So that could be, and that's the fun part also. It could be like a car or something, or a bird I see that I like jotted down. And in that shape, it's like, why did I draw that? And it's like, it might make sense for a painting. So it's just kind of putting all those together until you kind of get something you like. For example, like this stupid thing could have been, you know, like a grate or something I saw that I sketched, and then that shape became part of this, and then this could have been something. And I draw eyeballs a lot. All my eyeballs are usually different. Like one's always different than the other. So I have books of eyeballs and ears, and you just kind of, so I do like 100 of these, and you get like one good one. You know, in my mind, I'm like, all right, this one, and then I don't wait. I'll just paint it quick, because if I think about it, I'll say, oh, that's not good enough. But kind of when you feel it, you just make it.
Just go ahead and get it out there.
Could be 3 a.m. I don't care what time it is. I was like, I got to do that one.
Now you say this is for you. This is a somewhat of a medium-sized canvas.
Yeah.
So what's some of the largest formats you've worked on?
So the largest I had, probably like 4 by 3, like 4 foot by 3, is my largest. And honestly, I'm nothing like special. If anybody thinks that like you have to have money or anything to be an, these are like AC Moore canvases, by the way. Like these aren't anything crazy. So I would just wait till they went on sale, and I would go buy those sizes. So I am a little confined at this point by sizes that exist. So I don't, because I didn't stretch my own yet. You know, I don't do it often. So I think that's the biggest they have at AC Moore. Otherwise, I would have gone larger than the 4 by 3. But,
I'm in the same boat with you. A lot of my canvases are standard size, and someone asks, like, why don't you stretch your own canvases? And it's a tedious process. But that's one of the next things I want to get into is stretching. For 2 main reasons for me is you can create whatever size canvas you want to work on. And the second part is I think it makes the piece even more of your own. Yeah. Because you built the frame, you stretched the canvas, you came up with the concept, and you applied it to the canvas. So it rounds off the project as yours in itself, even in that first step of creating the material, creating the surface you're gonna actually apply your paint to.
Very true. Then a part of me is like, hey, the old masters used to paint on like wood and like walls. It's like, it doesn't devalue it.
Doesn't matter. The Mona Lisa's painted on a piece of wood.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Whatever I give you, you better like.
Yeah, exactly. It's the image, the imagery itself is what's important, and the message in the imagery is not what it's painted on.
Exactly.
I love this pink.
Yeah.
This fuchsia kind of goes up into a little magenta over here. Man, your colors are bold, bold, bold. I'm really loving it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. There's a lot of like abuse going on with this too. I beat the canvas with like sponges and towels.
I can see that.
And you got to actually hit it pretty hard, you know, to get it. Like when you feel it, it's like you couldn't duplicate like say that line. It has to be just quick. Yeah. And that's definitely part of the fun for me too. I don't like being confined, which is kind of contradictory because the line's confined, but that's after. So like it's never like, oh, I have to make sure that's green right there. No, it's just if it is, it is, you know, wherever the line work goes. So that's definitely it reflects me too, where it's like there's some order going on, but it's mostly chaos. You know?
It's, confined chaos.
Confined chaos.
Don't break the boundaries.
Exactly.
You have any more to show us?
Yeah, I got another big one, and then we got some smaller ones. So this is the third one of the series. I got 6. And this one has like the most line work, I would say, out of the newer series. And it gets kind of crazy and you get a little dizzy if you look at it. But I do like some of the new things that came from it. So the hair, how I handle hair, that's new to me, and I definitely use that on more pieces now. So on the side there with those triangles of different color, and then up top, that's definitely new. And then extending these rectangular paths that much is new to me as well. So I started using them a lot more, like this flowing into here, having it there, having it there. On the male figures, if they're human or not, I use the stubble a lot, so I like that. Yeah, I like that. Like I said, always 2 different eyes. This one was kind of cool because most of his forehead was an eyebrow. Certain things like that. I always try to relatively use complementary colors, but sometimes I stray away from that. But definitely like how it sticks out.
Yeah, the patterns in here really immediately caught me, and like you said, it's this portion, the rectangles that come down, it immediately catches your eye and forces you to flow around the image itself. And the mouth is just like so striking.
Yeah, the red. So I only use the red in a couple spots.
Yeah.
Little things like that. And I really only do use maybe like 5-6 colors usually on each piece.
Do you purposely limit your color palette?
I think if you use too much, it doesn't look kind of like, let's say, canon with my other portraits, because they're always usually just, the first series was strict complementary, just red and green and all that, and then I strayed away a little, but I still want to make sure I only use like 5 or 6. So like the red is used throughout, but you really only see it here and there. So I think that's why it works. If it wasn't there, it wouldn't look quite as good, in my opinion.
And that's a difficult process to purposefully limit yourself to the colors you have on your palette and still be able to produce what you see in your head. Somebody tasked me to that challenge and I couldn't do it. I showed somebody my palette one time and I had 15 colors on there. It was like, you got too many colors. I'm like, I need all of them.
I need those.
I need those colors though. But being able to, like you say, use the base colors and use complementary colors to produce a piece is extraordinary. Just to limit yourself that much and still be able to do this.
Thank you.
Even the beard stubbles, you got the chest hairs and and everything.
Exactly.
Something almost reminiscent of a tribal tattoo.
Right, exactly. Like even that ear was a cool ear to do, because that was definitely a sketch. I remember, and it's like, what the hell is that? Is that an ear? But it is now.
The Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, recognizable elements. But it's all built with shape, though. It's all just shapes that come together.
Really, really interesting, dude. Really interesting stuff.
Thank you.
Let's
Really
show him some more.
Yeah, I just got these 2 little ones for
Okay,
now.
well, we'll keep this up here.
Sure.
And
So this is actually, I sold a couple of these guys. I made a bunch of them. It's called the Titterer. It means one who laughs nervously. I brought in a bunch of paintings for my first show I did at Marywood. And this was there, and I wasn't going to show it because I was like, what the hell even is it? But my one teacher really liked it. So he's like, you got to show that. And I did, and someone wanted it and bought it, so I started making a bunch of them. So it's kind of my go-to piece, my small little dude I make. I don't even know what it's doing, but it's a weird face. But then I made this one in celebration of the COVID season. And it speaks volume. As odd as that design is, it speaks volume, because we could be like this. We could be laughing nervously, but we wouldn't know.
Wouldn't even know.
Because that's the world we're in right now. So this guy might look normal, but he's making that face under that mask,
there.
you know. So
We're pretty worried.
it's kind of symbolic. Maybe we wear a mask all the time.
Back to the facade.
Right? And now we're actually wearing them, and it makes everything more clear in a way, which is ironic. But yeah, this is a very rare Titterer here, 2020 Titterer. So
how many of these have you produced over the years?
I just started making them last year, and I think I made like 6 of them, all pretty much the same size. I sold 3 of them, but they're all pretty much the same. I differ sometimes with the colors, but usually this is the main one.
How long did it take you to come up with this character?
This was a super odd sketch I did during class. I remember in like I think it was my Italian class, in the notebook, and I was like, that is awesome. So I went home, and I remember it was a really quick painting, like real fast I did it, like just splattered, and then didn't use the fine line work. So this is more like that other one I showed you with the cell phone style, the loose black line work. We really don't care, messy, and the Titterer was born, and then I kept making more of them. They get a little better every time, I think. They're all a little different, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted to try to express the whole COVID-19 pandemic, and I definitely thought, what better than the Titterer, you know?
Once again, trying to implement the signs of our times and put it into art.
Exactly.
Document it.
That's all we can do.
So what do you have on your tablet?
Yeah, I would just wanted to show some process on here. So I never had an iPad until this year, so it's all new to me. But it was really good for these preliminaries, which helped me out a lot, so I could show you. And I don't know, do you have an iPad? Do you use it?
I don't, but I actually want to get one. Normally when I work from photographs, and I think that continuously printing photographs is a little bit more expensive. I think I might invest in an iPad just to have my images digitally.
Highly recommend it, because I was so against it. I was like, I'm not paying that. But I got one. I was like, whatever. And it's like painting with magic. If you gave this to Michelangelo, he would think you were a wizard because you have every brush and everything. So this, I'm just going to go through this kind of live here. These are all layers, and this is actually going to be that first painting I had up. So I'm just going to turn these layers back on. And this is kind of just what I did, and it's what I would do with a brush, but I'm doing it on here. So this is what you got, and then I went back and I added all this line work, and then that's pretty much that painting. Wow, and that's just me doing that, and it's the most in-depth preliminary I've ever done. Because usually a sketchbook, you just have the line work. I never got to work out the colors before, but on here I really got to work everything out. And it's not exact, because you let the feeling take you away with the paintbrush, but it's pretty close, pretty close. So I could do that with any painting. And I didn't waste any paper, I didn't waste any materials. So that's why I like the iPad. Wow. It's really cool. So I did a lot of my stuff on here as of recent. The new series, I pretty much did all on here first. Worked out all the colors. And there's so many variations of this that didn't have those colors. But eventually you get it, and then you can just make it happen. Mm-hmm. So that's why.
How long did it take you to get proficient with that program?
This is Procreate. It was like $10, I think, one-time payment, and it took me a little bit. It's kind of tricky. Big transition with this thing, this Apple Pencil. It's really cool, but maybe a month or two. Once you figure out how the brushes work, and it's touch sensitive, so you push a little harder, thicker, and then I just kind of went with it. And instead of watching TV or whatever, I would just sketch on here and think of new paintings to make.
That's awesome.
So it's definitely worthwhile to pick one up. It's like infinite art supplies in your bag, which is fun.
But that's the one thing too I say about us visual artists is use the technology, but don't lose the original foundations. And once again, even if you gave Michelangelo a camera, imagine what he could have did with that.
True. Would it be the same though?
Exactly.
That's the thing. And I don't want to, like, some people, they do this and they never let it go. They're like, I'm digital
just
forever.
Just gotta print that out and put that on the canvas, and it's like.
But it's not the same to me, man. Like, people are like, oh, you got them right there. I'm like, no, I have to paint all these now. These are just preliminaries. Yeah. But I mean, digital has its place. You know, it has its place. I definitely think it's awesome. But the physical object and the feeling of the actual brush strokes is what I like.
You can't recreate that. No
way. So I use it still. I make it very clear that it's just preliminaries on there.
It's just a tool.
I'm just a tool. It's like it's a notebook for me, except I don't have to spend more money on it. You know.
Well, Matt, I really appreciate you coming into the studio and talking with us and sharing your fantastic art with us, dude.
I'm so honored that you had me. You know? It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Travis Prince. This has been another episode of ECTV's Roundtable Discussions. Our guest for today was Matt Cat. Really appreciate you guys watching the show, and we'll see you next time.